to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the board meeting to order. Roll call shows all are present except Dawn, who is excused. We have the May 17, 2018 regular board meeting minutes. Any questions, corrections, comments?
Move to approve.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. We have no agenda changes, public hearing. So next is license and permits.
Operator licenses number 116 through 118. They've been approved by police. Do you want to, we can do them all, I think.
I don't need to be one of the
Nope. Temporary Class B retailers licenses, and then the 2018-2019 liquor license renewals, combination Class A and the combination Class B, and the 2018-2019 operator renewals. There were 50 in that list, so I'm looking for approval. Those have all been approved by police also.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Approved. Pre-registered citizens to be heard.
There is no one on the list.
And we'll go to committee reports. Michael Richter, Project Committee.
The agenda,
If you want to take that, go ahead.
the meeting minutes from our last committee are in your packets, and we just had a public informational meeting immediately before this meeting. And I would say that we can say that we've come to an agreement of project scope and all the facets of it.
And I just would like to add one last time, thank you to Brian and Jim for all the hard work you guys did and bringing everything to our attention and talking to all the neighbors and making this thing a win-win, I think, for everybody, and to Carl and Diane for all your hard work to put it together. And I forgot to thank you last time, but I thank you.
Thank you also.
We didn't do a whole lot, those guys did everything.
They did everything.
But yeah,
Thank you very much.
Anything else on Michael Richter Project Committee? Hearing none. Library Board?
I want Ally's
Oh.
Okay. We met on Tuesday, we elected officers. President was Todd Tim, Vice President Mary Jo, Lance Secretary Veronica Woodward. There was a book sale the same weekend as Branch Outreach Community Rummage Sale Day. We took in about $900, and looking at increasing staffing. That's a concern right now. That's all I got for that. And we're short one member. We had a resignation, so we'll be looking for one more member.
Any questions or comments for Pat? Hearing none, we'll move on to Senior Activities Committee.
And we met this afternoon. We had a good meeting. 8 people were there. We had representatives from Valley Visiting Nurses Association, Make the Ride Happen. We had Care Partners present. She is a member. Discussion about more collaboration and outreach into the community so we can have more seniors involved and getting more to the people that aren't being reached at this point. We're planning Autumn Fest again for October 24th with a speaker from the Veterans Administration. And there is concern expressed by the committee about Village Voice not being printed anymore, and a lot of the seniors are not getting information. So at some point, if I wasn't on the board when that was decided, but if we could figure out a way to have more printed and available, we would appreciate that, if there's an option for that tonight. So I said I would bring that to the meeting. That's it.
Any questions or comments for Pat on the Seniors Committee? Hearing none, we'll move on to unfinished business from previous meetings. Michael Richter assessment.
So this is where I would, I propose that the committee would, or the board would take the committee's recommendation of a motion directing staff to work into and entering negotiations or reach out to Parker's.
These should be separate motions, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I would make the motion to, as we decided in our committee, to reach out to the Parkers to start beginning negotiations for the purchase of the 4 outlets.
One outlet.
The one outlet.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Agreement for professional...
I'm sorry, one more. There's
There's one more? Okay.
Then the second, it would be to,
I believe it should be in,
it's this one. A motion, I would make a motion that we move forward with the project as defined by the prepared scope and assessment structure. Either number 1 or number 2.
no, we can't, because that's,
Okay,
we can't decide that.
But
That's,
we would move forward with we would move forward with the project. Is this where we would talk about the finalization of the special assessment that Jim was talking about before?
I would do that now too, as to make a motion to direct the village attorney to draft documents to, and record satisfying the Parker Heights Special Assessment Agreement. That's what it was called.
Okay.
Upon completion of
Project
project.
completion.
Yes.
Does that make sense, Dave?
Got that figured out yet?
Did you think that-
Yes.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Are we finished with this part now?
Now I think we have.
Yes, for the assessment part. Then the next one is the project part, where
Okay.
that next
Then
motion
we'll move on
comes
to the
in.
agreement of professional services with McMahon for the Michael Richter project.
And this,
Yeah, we're still calling it the Michael Richter project, but technically it's the Brookwood Drive project.
And that's just to do the design part?
Yeah, we've already had the topography done, so we've already expensed money there, we've had research into it. So we'd like to stay with McMahon and just let them do the final design.
Okay,
And now it would be bidding,
right, and it's going to be, and can I just want to make that clear, I want to bid, I don't want him to give quantities and that they give us unit prices and it's all based on that, it's a bid.
you don't want him to give quantities?
No.
So you just wanted us to go up for bids?
Just blind bids, or what do we?
Why is that, I mean, explain to me why that's a problem. I mean, I'm serious, why is that a problem?
It's not a problem, it's, I know you work in the industry where it's above ground, not in the ground.
No, I work in the ground too, but not,
We can do that. They tend to, when they bid, they like to know how much pipe they're expected to need, that kind of stuff.
and typically, his drawings will show that. He'll say 210 feet of 8-inch sanitary, 350 feet of, I don't have a problem with that, but I don't want, every time when we did that dam, everything was done on a unit basis.
That was a lot of T&M there.
I just don't want to,
No, that
because we are subject then to,
was a very unusual situation today.
I just want to see it big, that's all.
Okay. Well, it would be bid and, bid process. And,
The quantities change from the drawings, but the change orders, but,
yeah.
okay, I don't want to keep going.
That's why you put contingencies in there.
But I'll make the motion that.
It would be design and bid services.
Yes, for the design and bid services to
Yeah.
finish as what we are still calling the Michael Richter project.
We would likely do inspection in-house, so we wouldn't include those.
Okay,
The motion's made.
yes.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Now we move on to new business, administrator's position. There has been some discussion on this, so we've had Daniel Olson from the League of Municipalities to stop in and
Dan, thank you.
Sure.
And I also included in your packets, the ordinance, the village ordinance that creates the position and describes it, and then the actual job description. So,
Thank you. Okay, good evening. I'm Daniel Olson, Assistant Legal Counsel with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. I've actually been in this room before, not this particular room, but I worked in a village for a while. I've also worked in the city of Green Bay, and I've also worked at a couple of counties in Wisconsin. So I haven't spent my entire career in what we sort of refer to as the gray tower of the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. So I've actually been in this environment before, so it's always nice to come back to it. And I've been asked to come here and talk about, I think, well, my area of expertise is, of course, municipal law. So I can talk to you about some of the legal issues relative to risk management with respect to what an administrator role is, or a professional manager role can assist with in a municipality. There's also been, as far as I understand, some idea about moving that management responsibility to the village president. And so I can talk about that process and what some of the limitations of that would be. Because if you do that, you are not going to get what you are getting from Diana, because you can't. So let me, I think, start there in terms of transferring authority of, well, let's call it chief executive
I'm gonna
power.
jump in real quick.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
Who on the board wants to do that?
There was some discussion, not with other board members, but the idea of maybe increasing the responsibilities of village president. There's some other municipalities around here that operate have more residents than we do that operate with the village president alone, and maybe splitting some of those duties between an increase in responsibility and duties with the village president and hiring somebody due to marketing that she's doing right now. So kind of splitting it.
Why would we want to do that?
I don't know. It's just up for discussion. It was an idea.
Okay.
I mean, this is discussionary level.
Okay. Well, I was just going to cut it short and say, I don't know that that's a very good idea. Why would we? Well, I don't need this gentleman to sit here and tell me that this is a good idea.
Well, you can't.
No, I'm just, I don't want to get, I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, if this board thinks that that's a good idea, then we should listen to it, but if this board doesn't think that's a good idea, then I think we're wasting this gentleman's time and ours.
How many $1 million last year did we have in development? I mean, I know that this is... I'm just saying,
Absolutely. Let him finish. Give him the
Economic
courtesy of letting him finish.
economic...
So those that have a question in their mind get an answer.
Okay. No, and that's why I'm asking. I just,
Okay.
if there's people that want to do this, and then I would say, yeah, let's listen to them, but
Go ahead.
Okay, Dan.
Okay.
So with respect to transferring power or transferring authority to a village president, you can't transfer unilateral authority to village president. Village president is one single member of this body and is not vested with unilateral authority at any point. There are some special administrative responsibilities that you know that a village president is required to do, but a village president can't enter into a contract unilaterally on behalf of the village, can't negotiate an agreement unilaterally without authority from the village board, can't engage in personnel review or discipline or other kinds of activities without approval of the village board.
So I think if the idea is to essentially move from professional administrator to vest that authority in a village president, I think you have to understand that that can't happen. You can't, there are certain limitations in the amount of authority that you can vest in one member of this body. In terms of the process on how you would achieve that, that also presents some issues that you need to be aware of. I do not know the election cycle of the current village president, but I do know that Diane is leaving.
Every 2 years.
Right. Well, I know it's 2 years, but I don't know where Al is currently, whether or not it is 2019 or 2020.
19.
So it's coming up.
Right, okay.
Number.
So Diane is leaving shortly. If the idea is to vest the village president with this new responsibility and authority, now that can't be done. Because your current village president was elected with certain responsibilities at the time that, for his term of office, for the term of office. So you can't now change those duties and responsibilities mid-term. So if you're going to do that, you would have to wait until the next election cycle in order to shift some duties, responsibilities to the village president specifically that are not there by statute. So that presents, I think, sort of, that is a legal issue for you to consider, because you're now going to have a gap if that's going to be the issue, if that's going to be your timing, knowing that Diane is leaving shortly and the village president is not up for re-election until next spring. You won't have anybody in place to perform those responsibilities and take care of those things. You can't vest that in your village president, and you can't vest it in any one of you either, midterm. You would also need to do that by charter ordinance, because you are essentially going to modify the statutory duties and responsibilities of the village president, which are laid out in Chapter 61 of the Wisconsin statutes. So what you would have to do is to go through a charter ordinance procedure under Chapter 66, which would essentially say, we're not going to be bound by the Chapter 61 rules relative to a village president and duties and responsibilities. And we're going to change specifically for the village of Hortonville. And if you adopt that charter ordinance under the charter ordinance procedure, that has to be given an opportunity for the village residents to vote on. So it doesn't become effective for 60 days. During that 60-day time frame, citizens in the village can petition to have that proposal, that ordinance placed on the ballot, and then have the citizens of Hortonville decide whether or not you want to do that. So that becomes, again, another process hurdle for you that may or not be something that you could actually accomplish prior to December 1st, because December 1st is the initiation of the next election cycle. It's when people take out their nomination papers. And that would be the date upon which you would have to act prior to, in order to accomplish that charter ordinance procedure. So not only do you have to adopt the ordinance and agree upon its terminology and agree upon what you want to do, then you have to back that up 60 days, because you have to make sure you've got 60 days in order to do that. And then you got to back that up because you have to have, that give some time for an election, for that issue to go to election, if you want to implement it prior to April of 2019. So you're already, in June, you're already in a very, very tight time frame, if you're going to consider that for the next election cycle. So, again, you're looking at December 1st as the date that you have to accomplish that. And if there's an election, have the election prior to December 1st. Because those that are going to run for village president in April of 2018 need to know, are they going to be the village president under Chapter 61, or are they going to be a village president under your charter ordinance, specific to the village of Hortonville? Again, that has to be done by the first day that nomination papers can be circulated. So that presents a significant legal hurdle, I think, for you in terms of time frame when we get it done. With respect to the proposal itself, in terms of what can you do, what can you vest a village president with in terms of administrative powers, administrative authority. I've already talked about unilateral authority. You can't do that. Diane doesn't operate with unilateral authority. I mean, she is a professional. She develops her policy rationales and she presents them to you. And you make those decisions. Even if you have a village president that's vested with essentially administrative authority, he or she still doesn't get to make those decisions unilaterally. They still have to come back to the village board in order to have those decisions or proposals implemented. So you don't get to divest yourself of any authority. That also raises, in terms of, you may start thinking about, well, let's make some special qualifications for this person. Because remember, now if you do that by charter ordinance, now you're vesting the person who's elected to that office with these special and new duties and responsibilities, which would be unique to Hortonville, because there aren't many municipalities that have gone beyond the statute. It's true that there are municipalities that do not have a village administrator, but they don't vest administrative power in the village president. I'm not aware of any other municipality that has done that. It is simply a time management issue. The board figures it out, and you would really have to compare the specifics of Hortonville and the number. You were talking about special assessment projects. I know they've got some tax incremental districts here. You've got, what, 4 that are here? And lots of other things. I mean, it's a short drive to Appleton, so I assume that Hortonville is, moving economically and trying to develop and doing lots of active work. I don't know whether or not those other municipalities are in the same kind of position. Probably not. I mean, if you're really an active community, most village presidents or single members of the village board don't have the time to engage in essentially a full-time job. But if you wanted to do that, let's say that's something that you wanted to do, and you wanted to draft some qualifications for a village president and say, okay, this is what we want our village president to have in order to be able to perform these duties, because you're going to have competency issues, right? Because when you elect somebody, it's not the same thing as hiring somebody. Because when you elect somebody, as you guys probably know, you read Chapter 17, there's a different process in order to remove you for malfeasance, misconduct, inefficiency, neglect of duty. Those are not terms that apply to a village administrator. You may have them in the contract, but you're not required to. Essentially, village administrator is an employee at will. They don't do their job, you send them on down the road, just like any other employee. But if you have a village administrator that is now vested with those responsibilities,
Village president?
I'm sorry. sorry.
Just making sure.
I'm sorry, you're right. A village president that's now vested with those responsibilities. It's not a real relationship. They get to keep all of those responsibilities for their full term of office, whether they're doing a good job or not. Unless you go through a removal process. Because that's the only way you can discharge an elected official, right? So, everybody here is sure that they could do the job. I won't ask you to specifically speak on it, but you probably know some people that if they ran for office, not so much, right? But that's where you're going to put yourself. As a result of creating that process, anybody can run for village president, and they don't have to have specific qualifications. They may not be able to perform the job that you've now vested in. Now, right? So that takes me back to where I think I started was, well, okay, let's just do qualifications then. Let's make special qualifications for the village president to make sure that we got somebody who's competent and capable, that she knows what she can do, right? Well, first you're going to have to agree on those qualifications. I mean, what are they going to be? But I think you have a legal hurdle, a bigger legal hurdle before you get there, is can you actually provide special qualifications for people to run for a village president office? And I think the answer is no, you can't. Because every citizen in Hortonville has the right to run for office. They don't have to have a master's degree in public administration. And you can't impose that requirement on them in order to be village president. You can't impose them on a background or qualifications in municipal finance or zoning and regulation or public works or engineering. You can't do that. So you're back to that situation, right? So you can't impose special qualifications to meet the new responsibilities and duties of the village president if you were to go down that road. And if someone's elected who doesn't quite figure out the job, then you're in a legal position where you're going to have to go through a removal process in order to change that, because you won't be able to change the duties and responsibilities mid-term, right? That's why we can't do it right now. And that's why the village can't make that switch mid-term on current village president. So your next village president, or village president after that, or 4 election cycles down the road, if they're vested with that authority, you got to live with it for 2 years, no matter how they do the job, unless you remove them from office, which is not an easy process. It's messy, and it's politically problematic. So, when I talk about process implementation issues, competence issue, qualifications, unilateral authority, and I think, let me just touch on one last thing, which is what legal value do you get out of a professional administrator? Because you do get a skill, which is not, it's not an attorney. I mean, Diane's not a lawyer. Nobody else here is a lawyer either. So she can't practice law, just like you can't practice law. But she does have a certain level of professionalism and skill and experience that she can rely on so that she knows what FLSA means, right? She knows what ADA means. She knows what the EEOC means. And any of the other thousands of acronyms that relate to laws that apply to you and to your staff in Hortonville. She knows the public records law. She knows the open meetings law. She knows the ethics code. She's not a lawyer, but she can be alert to practices in the village that might pop up and say, oh, wait a minute, I think there's a problem there, okay? Your village attorney doesn't spend, I know Bob, I've talked to him on the phone before. I know he doesn't spend all of his day here, but Diane does. And so she's able to spot those issues and redirect and also counsel. Even though she's not a lawyer, but she does have that experience. Again, if you elect someone to the office, they don't have to have that background. They don't have to have that experience, right? So they're not going to be able to give you that legal protection for liability from engaging in improper personnel activity, going through personnel files, asking improper questions during interviews, going out and making improper demands on your employees that might be contrary to some agreement that you have with those employees, or the Fair Labor Standards Act, or the Family Leave Act, Family Medical Leave Act, or anything else. So I think as a lawyer, when people ask me about, the pros and cons of a professional municipal administrator, I approach it, there are plenty of others. There's lots of expertise that you're not necessarily going to get off the street with somebody who runs for office. That, someone like Diane or some other professional and trained and experienced administrator is going to bring and can bring to the workplace and to the village on a daily basis. But setting that aside, there's some real legal benefits to you, to the municipality, in terms of protecting the municipality from liability, from certain conduct, and also protecting each of you from maybe, stepping in an area that, because you're new to the office, you didn't really know what 19.59 says about the state ethics code for local government officials and what you can or can't do. Diane's there to help you, okay? And plenty of other things. So I just wanted to mention that, not only do you have these other process and other related legal issues, but you also have, you'd be giving up that legal benefit that a professional administrator gives you on a daily basis. So that's all I had. I'm happy to answer any questions if anything I said, raised an issue or a thought.
No, I wanted to thank you, Dan. You've opened up, answered a lot of questions that were asked of me, so I can report back to the people that were concerned.
Okay, good.
So I just want to thank you again.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. I get a chance to do this half dozen times a year on different topics and be able to go and actually go to city councils, to village boards, and it's, I enjoy it a great deal, so thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to go around.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks again, Dan.
So, do you have any other questions or comments on the administrator position? And I think that we should, from what Dan says, if we don't have any other opinions or ideas on it, that we should be looking at the possibility of putting out an ad for a new administrator.
I thought you did that already.
No, we have not. Because of the concerns that were brought up tonight, it has not
Okay.
been done. so it has not gone out yet. There is also the possibility that in an interim, that we can have an interim administrator come in. There is a service for that, and for covering for, what we paid Diane, we could get 16 hours a week from that position without going over what we are presently paying
When are you
for
leaving?
Diane's position.
My last day is July 2nd.
We have a lot of irons in the fire right now.
Can we, under this heading of the agenda, make a motion to get the position state posted?
Yes, I don't see, I don't see a problem with that, Jane, with open meetings. It says, identifies it as administrator position.
So wouldn't it have to be specific?
Are we listing a dollar amount?
No, just to
The motion
publish.
would be to publish a listing.
Yeah, but I think we have to have that as a specific item on the agenda.
Well, what you could do, just a suggestion, is have it on the next agenda for that part, and we could...
Authorize.
Well, no, Al had mentioned about this interim position, or an interim administrator. They also, for the same rate, as when they're sitting in there, they can also do recruitment, and they can run that show for you, with you.
Who are these people?
The one that I'm familiar with and that Al and I had spoken to is IPR. They're a branch of McMahon.
Oh.
And as Al said, I calculated out, because I asked him just what's your hourly rate, and as Al mentioned, when I calculated in my salary, my benefits, everything like that, that could pay for 16 hours a week of his time.
And our IRP is a recruitment area,
And
so the cost of the interim administrator, what we pay them, the recruitment is in with that figure also. It's not an extra charge.
Okay, so keeping in mind now the bid process of the $5,000.
Getting back to my question, can we make a motion to get the thing posted? Under this heading?
I don't see why not.
I don't see why not.
But are we making, are you?
Well, all I'm making,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion that we post the administrative position vacancy so that we can get going with this. And I just wanna know that I can make that motion.
Yes, because it's identified as administrator position.
Then I'll make that motion.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can we tag along with that? Are we talking about an interim at all? Are we talking about, because we have so many irons in the fire right now.
I'm here for one more meeting. Why don't I bring him in, ask him to come in at our next
I think that would be-
board meeting?
Yeah,
Just
I
a
don't think we have enough
suggestion.
information on that.
No,
I
I
think
just
it's probably
need to
necessary.
explore
And I
that.
didn't think you were, I just, all right.
I think it.
I'd rather explore it sooner rather than
I
later.
don't disagree.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. I don't, we don't know.
Then I will second your motion, Kelly, to post the position.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Do we have any other discussions on this? Hearing none, we'll move on to East Village Retail Center site plans. Brooks Litwin Properties LLC.
You have the plans in front of you. I sent, as part of the board packet, I sent the covenants and restrictions for TID 3 along with these plans, and the reason for that, the reason I did that is because you serve as the architectural review board, and your role and responsibility in that is to review this for consistency with those covenants and restrictions. Staff did, and we feel that it is consistent and it meets what, they're good, we like it. But I just wanted to have you guys have that information as well. So that's why I sent all that information out, and with that, I'll turn it over to Chris and Ann and Curtis.
By the way, I'm Chris Brooks. I'm 1/3 of Brooks Litwin Properties. My wife Ann is my life partner and my business partner. She's also a third, and then Dr. Jason Litwin is our third partner. we're really happy to be here. This has been a long time coming to fruition, and I have to tell you that, you know, we started pursuing this and discussing things with Diane 2.5 years ago. So,
I think I was here about a month.
yeah, I think, right, and it's been a long process.
Well, this is the one that I have described as the rainbows and unicorns, because I give this board a lot of credit, because they had another proposal in front of them that wasn't as good of a fit, and they went on faith, knowing that this was coming, and it just took a while to get here.
It took a lot of effort and a lot of work, and Diane did an awful lot of it, so we're very grateful to everything that she did, and Carl, and Bob Sorensen. So, anyway, you want to...
Yeah, well, I just kind of want to just give a brief, you know, if everyone saw the packet, so I apologize for turning my back to you. Just a brief outline of the project is obviously Highway 15 Main Street, Town Drive, and the existing grocery store is located here. We're proposing a 15,000 plus retail strip center that has one major tenant that's going to take approximately 7,500 square feet. The other ones are going to be divisible depending on obviously who comes in and how much square footage they want to take. At a high level, we have deliveries coming in off the back, so they'll be sharing the same drive as the deliveries coming in for the grocery store, and they'll exit through here. We do have an unloading area for all the tenants, but it's primarily used for the larger tenant. A dumpster enclosure, which will be a masonry dumpster enclosure, that will house multiple dumpsters for all the tenants. So they'll be located here, but that will be a full masonry with a wood front gate access here. Employee parking, we do have a drive-up. So one of the units does have a drive-up window. We also have a one-way access, so if someone gets in there, they can get around. They're just not stuck in the to the drive-through window. We do have a curb cut coming into the common drive. Parking stalls here, these are two-way parking stalls, so you can come in and go either way, not a one-way like here. We do also show future space for a future outbuilding, and that will be sized accordingly once we get into revitalize that. The building overall is not a pre-engineered, it's a conventional frame bar joist building. The materials on the exterior are masonry wainscot for obviously taking the Wisconsin abuse, shoveling durability down low. The front of the building will be ephes, and there's different layers that break up elevations. Bronze aluminum framing, bronze awnings. As you go around the back, it will be a IMP insulated metal panel with a stucco finish. So there will be no pre-engineered metal wall panels, there's no concealed bathrooms, it will be all having a stucco finish. Parapet height of around 21 feet at the top.
I'm going to try to make the buildings look like they belong together in that area. I mean, you obviously have a big old metal building essentially next door.
Right.
I mean, is there any attempt at making them look like,
Yeah.
the thought was,
We looked through what they were doing when we first started talking with Consolidate. We probably more closely matched the facade of the Century, of the grocery store.
I mean, I know you're talking about two completely different buildings. And
Yeah.
They both have ephes, they both have a kind of that attractive column. So we are kind of mirroring what's there, but obviously without going with a metal panel and a bigger box, and
Right.
volume as well, so.
Yeah, our preference is to stay away from the fluted panel that looks more industrial.
Right, which is just a little mill box.
Right, right.
There's a blow-up rendering.
And with the covenants and restrictions, we, in our TIDs, our tax incremented industrial park, retail park, we require a mixture of stone and this other stuff, so that's the other thing, if you look at these pictures, is there's that stone in there too, at the bottom layer.
Right, just cultured stone.
No, it's a one. That's all on all four sides, it's not just the front edge.
You'd mentioned before, you used the word pharmacy, is that a Freudian slip?
No pharmacy.
Okay.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, he said something.
A drive-through did.
Yeah, right.
Well, hang on a minute.
Oh, I'm so tempted to say something.
Don't you dare. Remember sexual harassment? You were trained
No,
on
not
that.
that part.
It's not like flipping me off that night.
I'm assuming you have an anchor? Or no?
Yeah, we do, right now,
We have an anchor. I got the final lease documents from them this morning, but they prefer to make the announcement themselves.
I was just
so we're
curious,
being
I'm not,
respectful of that.
I would have asked you to have told us if you could have, I was just wondering if you guys.
It's a long process with them.
No, I understand.
I know.
I thought it would be announced before I've known it all.
Well, you haven't left yet.
I'm assuming all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed, but there's nothing contradicting any uses in here that contradicts with anything. We have covenants, like, is there any
No, from the very beginning of this, we sent all of that information to them, and there is the restriction in the TID that any building going in cannot have more than, I think it's 2,500 square feet of groceries, so that's not in competition with Gilbert.
Yep.
They've been aware of that, and all of the things that they're doing meets that requirement.
That language is exactly in the box store lease, the anchor tenant lease. So they are aware of it as well.
Okay.
And we have one other tenant, so there's one other space that is
Oh, yeah.
filled, or very close to being signed.
What are we looking for tonight from?
This, I'm looking for a motion for approval of the plans so that they can move forward now. As this is the final approval, the covenants and restrictions require this board to be the architectural review board, and that this board approve it before they can do anything. So I'm looking for approval of these plans tonight.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Thank you very much for your time. Very much.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you guys.
Thank you for.
Excited for this.
Hey, that's looking Hortonville.
We're Hortonville High School graduates.
Who's building the bathhouses?
I'm sorry?
Who's building the bathhouses? I love that you're having bathhouses.
Is that what you heard?
Right here, bathhouse on pole.
That's existing. The lines are moved.
We'll check that out. I'm happy for that.
But you'll make points if you build the bathhouse.
Yes. Solar.
Pat, Al.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Gonna be breaking ground tomorrow, right?
Very soon after. We've got another one in July. In July, we'll be breaking ground, so we'll have it part of July. Yeah.
Like before July 2nd, so I get to actually see it.
I'll break the party.
I'll come back. I'm coming back for that. Thank you.
It's not that far a drive.
All right.
Okay, next is R-9-18, the Commonwealth Companies Development Assets.
This is, as I mentioned during the public informational meeting, one of the concerns of the Parker Heights residents was about access from Commonwealth onto that street once it's built. I had reached out to Commonwealth and asked them. They said they have no intention of it, so I asked if they would put it in writing, which they did. I forwarded that letter to, I know Jim has it, so we do have that on record. And so now this resolution is the village board going on record stating that the desire of this board is that that access never be granted, if it were to ever come up, so.
I'll make a motion to approve R-1918.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Next is R-8-18, Compliance Maintenance Resolution.
Look on your memo, and on page 69 of your packet, you'll see the final grade point averages for the wastewater treatment plant for the year 2017. Takes a while to get to page 69.
Yeah.
I feel like you're staring at me, giving me a glare for that.
As you can see, Ryan and the guys have done another great year of operating that plant, 4.0. The only issues that we had were addressed with the purchase of that screw press, and that has actually helped quite a bit. We still have a little bit of I&I coming into the plant, which is infiltration and inflow. And you guys do a good job. I don't know how else to say it.
Thank you, Carl.
Again, this resolution is typical. I think a few of you have seen quite a few of these over the years.
You just need a motion, right?
Yeah, if you look at what I handed out, I spelled the motions for you. In red.
Oh, if I would look at it.
Yeah. Please follow the red motions.
I'll make a motion to approve R818.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Look bad with having those motions.
Next is bike night motorcycle parking request, Commercial Club of Hortonville.
I'll take this one as well. On my memo that I handed out, you'll see that the village has a history of supporting this type of event, and I'm recommending we continue to do so. This is the bike night, the traditional bike night from Commercial Club. They do have a special event permit that was signed off on both Ryan and I and Diane, but this is considered a part of it.
We'll do this.
So, again, I wrote a motion down for you to read.
Go ahead, Pat. Jump in there.
Jump on.
Make a motion for the bike night parking exception request to approve a special exception to the parking codes to allow motorcycle parking only on August 16th, 2018 on both sides of West Main Street between Pine Street and Mill Street from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Better hold over yours than this, yes.
Veterans Ride motorcycle parking request, Heroes Fire Military Police.
I'll take this one as well. This is a fundraising ride that's going to start at Keene Veterans Home. They're coming through town. There's no special event permit needed because they're just stopping off in town. And we requested 2 to 5, but likely we'll know ahead of time what time they're coming, and it'll only probably be an hour or two that it actually needs to be locked off. Again, no special permit would be required. The officer on duty would just grab the cones and set them to the side when they're done.
And Brian's okay with this as
Yeah.
well?
Yep. We were going to do this last year, but the ride got canceled or something. But again, pretty much the same motion as before, although the times are a little different, the date. So this would need I'm looking for a motion. Jean?
I make that motion for Heroes Bike Ride parking exception request to approve a special exception to the parking codes to allow motorcycle parking only on June 23rd, 2018 on both sides of West Main Street between Pine Street and Mill Street from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Handicap parking exception for Commercial Club Harley raffle.
I'll take this one as well. The village has history of supporting this. Again, this is handicap parking between the 2 driveway entrances at Commercial Club. Typically, all this requires is a couple of handicap signs placed along the curb line there, and we've done this for the last few years. So I'm looking for a motion as written.
Does the village have a history of supporting this?
Yes.
I'll make a motion for the handicap parking exception request to approve a special exception to the parking codes to allow handicap parking only on the west side of Oak Street between the Commercial Club Park driveways during the Commercial Club Harley raffle event on August 18th, 2018.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Next, we have O-6-18, amend noxious weeds.
I'll take this. It's an addition and an address of the language written in written in Chapter 10 regarding noxious weeds. What we're doing is we're specifically adding the term Japanese knotweed to our noxious weeds to give us more authority on the ability for us to mandate its disposal and removal. Again, it's just specifically related to noxious Japanese weed as a noxious, Japanese knotweed as a noxious weed.
My turn.
Yeah.
Move to approve O 6-18.
I'll second it.
That was easy. See, I take the easy ones.
Before I call for it, I want to let Carl that the one that had complained to me about the Japanese knotweed
Yeah.
is very happy we're doing this.
Okay, that's good, that's good.
Okay, now that we have motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Civic Systems Connect Upgrade, Financial Software and Server Purchase.
I'll take that one. And I put a motion on my memo too. The memo was sent in a separate email along with the vouchers, I think it was. The proposal from Civic Systems and Corporate Network Solutions is in your packet. It's to upgrade to Civic Connect, or Cassell Connect, excuse me. And in order to do that, we also need the server because the new software cannot be supported on the existing hardware. And this is something we've been planning for years. We have established a reserve account, so there's $40,000 in that reserve account. I got updated cost estimates, which I have in your packets, or excuse me, on the memo. Well, and all, yeah, the whole thing is in the packets. And we're also going to be splitting the cost with sewer and water. So the package, everything, the software and the server will come in with under what we have reserved, so we have enough to completely cover it. It will increase the annual maintenance costs by about $2,900. Again, that will be split with sewer and water, so we're talking only about another $1,653 increase in annual costs. This is long overdue, and it's kind of the perfect combination of a new clerk treasurer. We're training, working on training anyway. This is a perfect time to implement this, and we have the money there. So this has been long needed. Like I said, we've been planning this for way before I got here. So we'd like to move forward with it, so I am asking for a motion to proceed with the purchase as laid out for both the software and for the server.
I will make a motion to proceed with the purchase as laid out for both the software and the server.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Otto Miller Park ownership.
That's Carl and me. The school district has approached us and asked us if the village would be interested in transferring ownership of Otto Miller Park to the school district. Right now, it costs us annually about $30,000.
Anywhere from 30 to 50.
30 to 50 just for maintenance. The school does pay $10,000 annually toward contribution towards that. They would, if they did take over ownership, they would continue allowing, there would be an agreement with use for youth sports. We would still have use of it, but they would take over ownership and maintenance of it. They have not brought this to their board at this point. They just brought it to their facilities committee and have been given the go-ahead to move forward. What we're looking for is for you guys to direct staff to continue discussions with them. It would ultimately come to the board for negotiations. Carl and I think it's a good idea because, one, it would free up that $30,000 to $40,000 a year. It doesn't matter, and really, if, to the public, if it's owned by the Village of Hortonville or the Hortonville School District. Our staff is thin, and also we have a reserve account that has money in there that would also free up that for other uses.
Obviously, it would be part of the negotiation, but I'm guessing that it would be, the school district would want us to contribute something to them in return for the use of it.
Don't give them any ideas, Kelly.
Have you looked up the original agreement when this was donated to the village? Are we allowed to do that?
We got a couple, we're looking into that. We got to contact we've got calls into the
I've got
north.
to call into the DNR.
Yeah.
Because the land that used to belong to the farmers to the north, I forget their name, not the couples, not that. But yeah, the DNR's got to sign off on it. Because we got $10,300 grant for that, for the northern baseball fields. 3 and 4 down below. So the DNR has to approve it, and along with that, if we're gonna, let's say we sell it to them for whatever amount, we agree that if the time comes, they have to sell it back to the village for that amount.
Yeah, the right to recapture we would include in there.
But are
And
we
it's
allowed
usually-
to do that?
Not, because we wouldn't be allowed to do it if we were selling it to a private entity and it was no longer a public park.
Okay.
Because it's going from a governmental agency to another one and it would still remain public, it is doable, we just gotta work through that.
Because I know at one point, we did look this all up, and there was some question that it was
It's very
deeded to the
specific.
village.
Yeah, it's very specifically written in the state statutes that it can't be a private person, but this is not. So the rules do say that the DNR has to sign off on it with a letter.
We just need to make sure we're doing what we can do.
Instead of Chris and my guys spending the whole spring chalking diamonds,
Right.
we could be working on Main Street.
Exactly.
We could,
Yeah.
that would free up.
So the motion you're looking for is just to continue looking into this to
Yeah.
see if this is feasible and to negotiate with them.
Yeah, yes, because we just don't want to keep on, we had the initial discussion with the school district, didn't want to keep going until we let you guys know.
It likely wouldn't take place until 1/1 of 2019.
I'll make a motion that you guys continue to discuss this, the possibility of transferring this of Otto Miller to the school district.
I'll second that. Or Pat, whatever you want to write down. Okay, quick.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Committee and commission appointments. We have Terry Owen back on the planning and zoning.
He's on planning and zoning.
He is, but he was up for, his term was up.
Oh,
It was a renewal of term.
Okay, sorry.
Library Board, Alexis Jedrick. Residential Rehabilitation, Matt Schrader. Senior Activities for our staff members will be Jane Booth and Vicki Barrow. We need a motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion?
I have two, I think. One's ordinance to amend Chapter 16, Union Cemetery, restricted activities, specifically dog walking. And the other one was temporary closing of alley number 1 for a benefit event.
And then also then, do you want me to invite the Russ Fund, I can't think of his, the person that we talked about for IPR regarding the administrator position?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to invite him to come
Yes.
to our next board meeting?
Yes, that would be a good idea.
So that'll be another agenda item.
Any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion?
I just wanted to reiterate the Senior Activities Committee request about the printing of the Village Voice. And maybe I need to get some more information on the cost.
We can put that on the agenda. It was a cost issue for
Yeah.
2018, that's why it was eliminated, but we could, I mean, that could be an agenda item. Is that what you're asking for, Pat?
Yes, even if they could have copies in locations around town. But I've had the concern expressed by a couple of people that don't have internet access, don't use Facebook or anything, so.
Would that be more of a budget discussion?
No discussion or
Yeah, we
answers at
can't,
this
can't
time.
get in.
Right.
And
Move
we
forward.
also still need to have a meeting on contract, anything over a certain amount has to go out for bids, like attorneys, auditors, such and such. We still have not, and that's got to be done before budget. So.
July.
That'd be something
so we're
for,
pushing.
something for the next agenda also. If there is nothing else, we'll move on to report of village officials. Administrator.
I circulated a thing on the wheel tax. This is, all this is, I put something together, Carl and I put something together. The intent is for the public information on it, to get that out. We had talked about moving forward with it, so right now we just did the getting public information ready. So I guess, do you want us to have a public informational meeting or just start pushing it out? and have the agenda item on the next, I guess we'll have a public informational meeting before the next agenda, our next meeting, and have an actual action item on the next board agenda.
Yeah, I'd recommend 15, 20 minutes.
For what?
Public informational meeting on it.
Because it's pretty well laid out in her memo, she's already handed out. I mean, we can put it online.
Prior to the next village board agenda, we'll have a committee of the whole meeting and do the public informational meeting like we did tonight.
Good. Okay with it, all members here? Okay.
The next thing I had on for administrator is the public fire protection charge. This is something that when, a while ago, we were looking at some ways on budget to make it, because of our budget levy cap and the issues that we had. This is an item that is determined, or the amount is established by the thank you, by the PSC, and it's an amount all municipalities with sewers, or with water systems are charged, and it's, the village has to pay the utility this amount in order to keep, that's the charge to keep the fire hydrants the right amount of pressure there, and it's for fire protection. It's currently on the levy, and if you recall, quite a while ago, I had mentioned to the board that that the state statutes had passed, or state law had passed, that did not allow us to get anything off of the levy, and we were running up into that issue where we were hitting the top, and then PSC came in and raised our water protection, our fire protection fee by $9,000, and then we had to find some other thing to cut in order to cover it. Well, a law just passed at the beginning of this year that now allows municipalities to take that back off the levy. What that would mean is that we could take, I'm trying to find out if we can take just a portion of it or if it has to be all or none, but we could take that off the levy and it would be a special charge, just like we do with garbage pickup and with ambulance subsidy. And the reason why we would want to do that is so that when PSC raises it, we don't then, we're not scrambling to try to cover that within our levy cap. It's always a challenge whenever that happens. So it's just a suggestion that if the board wants to do that, we can pursue that further to see about getting it off. I would suggest that if we can take just a portion of it off rather than a full amount, that we do that, because the intent of this isn't to take this off the levy, put it as a special charge, and then fill in that levy, where we came down. It's not to increase the taxes, it's to keep the PSC mandated increases from hitting us where we have to then find other programs to cut.
Well, yeah, I think we need to just get more information on it. I mean, that's...
Well, and I just found this out, so I just wanted to, this is what I call it, my first blush at it, where I just wanted to present it to you to just, I'm certainly not asking for any decision, it's not, that's why it's just a report,
Okay.
but more to see if that's something that you're even interested in, if we want us to further pursue.
I think we should be informed about it, and then we can make a decision. Okay.
Next agenda item. I mean, on the next meeting's agenda. That's all I have.
Any questions for Diane? Hearing none, next is clerk treasurer.
I went to Allegheny County last night. There was a demonstration on Badger Book, which is electronic poll books. They still have some bugs to work out with that. The cost is $1,900, I believe, for one.
What is an electronic poll?
You know how right now when you go to vote, there is a paper poll book?
Oh, okay.
There's an electronic poll book, but there are many bugs that they need to work out yet.
Okay.
And you would still at this time have to print the paper copies, so the larger municipalities can go ahead and be the guinea pigs for that. Maybe down the road, there's money set aside for that, but
Wait till that comes down in price.
yes,
Okay.
After we get the bugs out of it.
yes. There were very,
No bugs in Hortonville.
there were great questions raised, and they didn't really have an answer yet on them, so. But that's all I have.
Any questions for Jane? Hearing none, Director of Public Works.
I'm sure I do, I don't have anything right now. There's such a, getting ready for this meeting, I don't have anything.
You did plenty.
Yeah. Well, even some got missed, so I'll have to go on the next meeting. but I won't be here.
All right.
Any questions for Carl? Hearing none, we'll move on to Brian.
I have nothing, thanks.
Library Director, Ally?
Yes. Our official summer library program starts on Monday. The collaborative summer theme is Libraries Rock, which is very open to interpretation. Sign up started on the 29th, and as of 5:30 today, we had over 275 people signed up.
Oh,
When did it start?
The 29th,
Wow.
so a week and a half. I mean, 275 people signed up. And I'm sure more since I've been in here. We have 19 gift baskets this summer, with 13 of them coming from local businesses in the valley, which is really exciting. Very proud of that.
nice.
Yep, and that's pretty much all I have.
Good job, thank you.
Absolutely.
Anybody have any questions for Ally? Bob's not here. Building permit report was in your packet. Any questions or comments on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to presentation of counts and other claims against the village.
Vouchers and automatic deposit, wires. Voucher number 24816 through 24889 in the amount of $184,686.40. Direct deposit payroll, $55,021.86. Direct deposit payroll of $1,708.44. Grand total $241,416.70. Water and sewer utility vouchers, numbers 10316 through 10328, total of $23,644.38.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Roll.
Aye.
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 Approved. Communication and miscellaneous business. Blackwater Lake District, I will take that, the Dash people with diver assisted harvesting had started this week and they've ran into some problems with too many weeds and getting the native plants along with the invasive. I have to talk with them further on that. And I will be setting up a meeting here later this month. And did you talk to Chris and Dave about harvesting? No? Okay.
Is it running?
The harvester's out there, but we haven't started yet.
Okay, I'll talk to him tonight.
Okay. That's all I have. Hearing no questions, we'll move on to Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District move.
I guess that's me. There was emails going back and forth. A new member, Jamie, somebody?
Jamie Noah.
No? Okay. We were trying to set up a meeting. Looks like it's going to be either the next Tuesday or the following Tuesday. I don't know what those dates are. It's like the 12th and the 19th or something like that. So we're trying to set up a meeting on Tuesday at about 6 or 6:30. So that seemed to be, I haven't been to a meeting yet, so I don't have anything else to report other than I'm trying to set it up. So, that's it.
Gold Cross Ambulance Run Report and News is in your packet. Any questions or comments on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to Hortonville Civic Association.
Nothing really yet, we don't have any numbers in.
But it was a successful weekend.
It was busy.
Any other questions or comments for Peter? Hearing none. Comments or suggestions from citizens present? Closed session, we shouldn't need tonight.
Yes, we do.
We do? Okay.
Yes.
Then we need a motion to move to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session under state statute 19851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation, data, when public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility.
Seven,
Aye.
I would like to make